Hey, everybody. Welcome to How Not to Bomb. This is Michael Wheels Parisi. Michael Wheels Parisi on How Not to Bomb. We're live right now on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram. We're out there. We're going to rebroadcast. The show goes on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio. We got a great show today. We got Steve Grillo on the show today. Steve Grillo, from the Howard Stern Show, if you remember him. He was one of the writers on the Stern Show. He was an intern for a while, then he ended up getting a job there and working for Howard. He didn't sign an NDA, by the way. So I'm going to ask him some questions about that. You're listening right now to Topos at the Wawa. The name of the song is Alien Abduction by Daniel LeBlanc. Topos at the Wawa. You can get it on Spotify, and they're a really fantastic band based out of Nashville, Tennessee. That's TOPOS @ the space Wawa. You want to check them out. Great show today. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on before the show. I'm trying to let everybody know. Well, trying to let everybody know. I am letting everybody know. Got a new book out, How Not to Bomb. I wrote this book. It's the complete guide to stand-up comedy. This is everything you need in the book. Everything right here. Everything. Everything they don't teach you and everything you need. You get it on Amazon. If you want to be a stand-up comic, definitely the book you want to get. It teaches you everything you need to know about the business, how not to bomb on stage. Will save you years of struggle. Very proud of it. You can read a little bit about me in the back. It's available on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon Kindle, and you can also buy it in paperback. So either way, you can get that book. Also, you can go to the ParisiGroup.com and check out our brand of coffee. There's a whole story about it. We've been in the coffee business and the food industry for many, many years. And I launched the coffee brand, Parisi Coffee. This is my espresso roast. I launched this brand in 2022 in Venice, Florida. And it became very popular. Everybody wanted the Venice blend. And then, of course, we ended up going into the espresso roast over here in the back. I have the famous cannoli cream, because as you know, I am the cannoli king of Los Angeles. I had a catering company out there, and I'm the first one to bring cannolis mainstream with 365 different flavors that I invented. Then I have another coffee here. So you definitely want to get the cannoli cream. And then, of course, the bold Fat Clemenza. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Fat Clemenza, great coffee. This is a very bold coffee. It's a potent espresso robusto. Very, very good. Heavy creamer. Very heavy creamer. So you can go to the theparisigroup.com/Parisi Coffee and order yours. And I'm going to put up a code later, so you'll be able to get the code and save some money at the checkout. Keep it up there for maybe a week or so. So we're going to have a great show today. I'm going to bring in, Steve Grillo. I did his show last night, Aftershock XL, and I had a great time. I haven't talked to Steve in many years, so last night was like the first time we've talked in quite a while. And I'm going to bring Steve into the room right now. Where is he? Here he goes. Bring Steve right into the room. He should be coming in very shortly. There he is, everybody. Steve Grillo in the room. How are you, Steve? What's going on, man?
What's going on, buddy?
Thanks for coming on the show, How Not to Bomb. I appreciate it. Not that we haven't spoken a few times already since.
Yeah.
It was really nice to do your show, Aftershock XL, last night. I had a very good time with that. How was the response on that?
It was an awesome response, and I just did a good 45 minutes getting everybody worked up to come over here on your show.
Well, good. Well, there you go. Hopefully we'll get
Well, I told them I didn't give out too much, but I did explain that you had something to say that the Dabbleverse will be very interested in.
Well, you know what's funny? I'm going to get right to that in a minute, but I want to talk about a few things. But yeah,
let's build it up. Don't do it now.
I wanted to. So I remember years ago there was on the Howard Stern show. What year were you on Stern?
91 to 98.
All right, so you put in nice 7, almost 8 years in the game. There was now there's a guy on the show called John the Stutterer. Now,
What a sweetheart. What a wonderful human being.
one of the nicest people, and he's such a good guy. And I always liked listening to him. He to me was the funny one. I mean, one of the funny ones out of the Whack Pack. Was he considered a Whack Packer, or was he just kind of a call-in?
He was, but he was probably the only one that had a real severe stutter.
Yeah.
And but he wasn't like mentally deficient like some of them were, like Fred the Elephant Boy or Crackhead Bob.
Right.
He was actually just as kind and funny and wonderful and warm as you and me. He was just tortured with a real severe stutter.
Yeah, he was a real stutterer.
Yes.
Now there was another guy on the show many, many years ago, and I'm not sure if even people remember him anymore. Maybe some do. I don't know. I think his name was Stuttering. He was Stuttering Juan or something.
Yeah.
Menendez.
That's the last time I saw him. That's what his name was. Yeah.
Now, I never really that because he was fake in a way. He didn't really stutter in real life, from what I hear. He was just a pussy.
I don't like telling too many lies, so I have to be truthful. Where, I stutter when I get into certain situations, or if I get locked up on a word. He did stutter, but can I tell you if he turned it up or not? Yeah,
I think he turned it. I've actually heard him talk in normal conversation numerous times where there was zero stutter. I guess you have a nervous stuttering, but he sends me an email last night.
Well, let's back up a little bit and explain what happened before we get to that juicy email that he sent you. So yesterday
he sent me another email after that you don't know about. So we're going to talk about.
Oh, because that if you want, I would let's interview me a little bit, because I think you're giving away too much right now. Because let's get these people interested, because you came on my show yesterday. I didn't bring it up, but if you go to the comments and the super tips, everybody wants someone to comment about the person that the most awful person I ever met in my life.
All right, we're gonna get into Juan in a little while. His name is Juan.
Okay.
Juan.
Yeah. Well, but just let people know that you came on my show, and people in the comments were wondering what you thought about him, and you told the truth, and you tell them what you said.
Well, I just thought he was always a fucking jerk. I never liked him. I just thought he was unfunny. Now he tries to play the comedian role. He's not a comic in my eyes. I mean, you got to go through. Listen, I'm a stand-up 38 years. You can't just come around and say you want to be a comic. So he's not a comic to me. He's just not funny. He seems like he has nothing going on for himself. And and I didn't even know his. I thought his name was like Menendez. I didn't even know what the fuck he was for years. I just think he's a bit of a fucking loser. But. And we're going to get into him, but that was my take on it last night. Yeah. So
and then you gave that little take, and obviously, he supposedly is retired from the Dabbleverse, but two people that you and Ivy Supersonic were on my show, and they both unprovoked talked about John. I choose not to give him any publicity or give him any attention, but the name does come up. And, I spent, a good part of my life being tortured by that awful person.
Right.
And I just don't want to acknowledge it, but I have to at some points. And like we did yesterday, you acknowledged it, and Ivy talked about him. And Ivy got a text message from him, which I'm going to talk about on Shuli's show. And Shuli said hello, by the way.
I love Shuli.
And I'm saving that for Shuli's show. And then now, on your show, I talked about what you were going to do on my show for about 45 minutes. So I hope I got everybody from over there to come over to your show. So not only did you get a text from him, an email from him, you got a follow-up email, which you didn't tell me about, which I think we should get to that in a little bit. But let's keep the people. Let's keep
because I think a lot of people see one side of you, and they really don't know that what we do and what you do is actually. It's a job, and it's thought out. It's not, you just don't show up being knowing exactly what you do. And you didn't show up to the Howard Stern show and get the job because you were a nice guy. You had to prove yourself. You had to know what you were doing for them to want to have you. I mean, they do run a professional business.
Yeah, and, I had to work my ass off to get there. It wasn't just like I was handed the job at the Stern show. I started on a project where I was logging old shows that weren't logged. It was a box full of like cassette tapes, and I had to sit there and go through them, and that took about 6 to 7 months. And then I got invited, and I had to work in the promotions department for another 6 to 7 months before I even got to be Robin's news intern. So it wasn't just handed to me.
How did you get the job? Was there an like? Did you apply? How did you know about it? How does one find something like that?
I was a wrestler in high school and college, so I'm very tenacious and hardworking, and I don't like taking no for an answer. Yeah. So I was wrestling and going to Hunter College, and I found out one day that Howard Stern, the studio was, Hunter College was on 68th Street in Lexington, and Howard's studio was on 58th Street in Madison. So when I realized that they were that close, I just one day got up and walked out of class and walked down, and all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, I'm standing in the lobby of 600 Madison at K-Rock, and I was like, oh man, this is close. And it was weird. I was overwhelmed. There was a awful green plant behind the door and a secretary, a receptionist, and once I got there, I said, I was determined to get past that plant. And then I heard they were looking for interns, and I just started harassing Gary Dell'Abate, basically.
Were you a fan of the show though? Before you?
Oh hell yeah! Are you kidding me? The channel. First of all, listening in the car, on my way to school, being late for class because he wouldn't go to commercial.
So you weren't during the serious days though. You were during K-Rock.
Oh no, I was right there. Basically, I was there. Yeah, when the Channel 9 show was on. Yeah. It was the last season, but the Channel 9 show was huge. Me and my friends couldn't wait to that Saturday night to watch Howard Stern on Channel 9, and it was like the best. And I was a gigantic fan, and that's how I went there, because I heard that people like that awful human being and someone who was wonderful, like Mike Ganji, were interns, and I was like, shit, if they can be interns, why can't I?
Right. So Ganji was. So let me ask you this. So give me a day in the life. You show up. What was a typical day for Steven Grillo at the Stern Show? You going in early morning. I'm sure you had to wake up early.
Well, when I lived in Canarsie, I had to be up probably around 3:15 in the morning.
I was a little bit from the mic. You're a little loud on the mic.
Oh, sure. Oh, my bad. It's right. This mic is hot.
There you go.
Sorry about that. No. So I had to be at the bus by 3:15. Then I took the B-42 bus to the L train, which of course never ran straight through at night. So I had to get off at Broadway Junction, which at 3-4 o'clock in the morning was not exactly for a good place for a little white boy to be, but I didn't care. I wasn't scared. Right. And then I had to take the A train to the city, and I had to be at the radio station, basically at 5 o'clock.
You had to be ready to go at 5 o'clock, though, right?
Well, because and Ronnie, the limo driver, he would possibly, he could be there anywhere between 5 o'clock and 5:20, and you had to be there to answer Ronnie's call and go down and bring Howard into the building. Right. So I had to be there. I had to be there by 5 o'clock. And if you missed Ronnie's call, which was very rare for me, Ronnie would let you know that I got to bring him into the building. I got to park the car, leave it downstairs, and you didn't want to, be on the radar on Ronnie's bad side. So
and this is when Ronnie was still just a limo driver.
Just a limo driver. And he was not a big part.
Is he still around?
Oh yeah, he's out here in Vegas.
He's in Vegas, right? Are you friendly with him in Vegas?
I have his number. I think that I've done some bashing in the local newspapers, like Page 6 and the New York Post and other things where I basically told the truth about my time working there, about my monetary situation and how I didn't get any money at all, and I finally became honest about it, and I wrote about it in my book, Gorilla Parts. Right. And so Ronnie, I think, is a little skeptical about being seen around me, because I think maybe he's worried that if Howard, if it gets back to Howard, that he was hanging out with me. Basically, I'm banned from the show because before it even got to the point where I wrote a book about everything, it was right when Periscope first started, and I did a Periscope video goofing around, and somebody on Radar Online picked it up, and they wrote a whole story about what I said, and it was kind of a goof, but they made it seem serious. So the last time I saw Robin Quivers up there, she said, you did a Radar Online interview, and you're banned from the show, and that was pretty much ended my friendship with Robin Quivers.
So you're not in contact with anyone who still works for the show?
I do, but I don't want to say because, like, I guess obviously you're gonna get Ronnie in trouble, and there's a couple of guys there that are just wonderful, like Sal and Richard. I don't press, or push to friendship, but they were both always very good friends to me. I don't want to see them get in trouble because they have family and children.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to backlash. But every once in a while, I'll just say like "Happy Birthday" or Merry Christmas, and they always get back to me. But I don't push the relationship because I don't want them to get in trouble.
Now, are you friends with anybody that's not involved with the show, like Jackie and?
100%. I talk to Jackie all the time.
Now, Jackie wasn't
Ti-
banned from the show.
No, well, but the way he runs things now is nobody that was on the show will ever be on the show again because that's looking back, and he's all about looking forward. So he'll never have anybody. Maybe the last show he ever does, he'll have some people on. But someone sent me a clip. I guess there was a discussion about that before he sort of changed his whole tune. About a reunion show, and the funny thing is, it was on the air, and it was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be great to get like Jackie and Artie and Grillo back here?" And then Howard was like, "Yeah, that would be fun." And they said, "What about John?" He goes, "No, Stuttering John will never come back on my show."
Well, he has no value. That's why there's nothing he brings
Yeah,
to the table.
yeah, but-
he's desperate.
Yeah, so that's why.
I saw his Instagram. He's got a GoFundMe out there right now for something. He's trying to raise money. He's a victim. He's a victim of everything. But I don't even want to get into it.
Never his fault, by the way.
Never his
it's
fault.
never
Never
his
his
fault.
Yeah.
And you stabbed him in the back, and you drew first blood. He's just that awful of a person that he can't even see that he's wrong.
Right. And that's just the way. You can't change people, but I was a very big fan of the Stern Show, and I disagree with Howard's politics, and that has nothing to do with comedy. Okay, but I don't listen to the show anymore because I'm just not a big serious fan. I'm more into Spotify, and I'm listening to more other shows. But so I did see some stuff. He's back in the news. He seems to always be in the news. Apparently, this girl suing him was one of his workers that worked for him in his house privately. And she signed an NDA, and now she's trying to sue him and saying all this stuff. Was it really that rough being around Howard behind the scenes? I mean, you would see him behind the scenes.
Not for me, but I do know someone did send me like a lawyer detailing all the really information that is going on with that lawsuit. And it breaks down to the fact that she didn't sign an NDA. And then when she decided to leave, they gave her an NDA that she didn't sign.
Okay.
And then they tried to force her to sign another one, and she said no. And now they said, no, you signed it. So she's suing them, not for money right now. She's suing them because they gave a false, illegal NDA and said that she signed it, and she said, I never did. And then on her exit, when she said she didn't want to work there anymore, they pressed her to sign another one, and she said no. And so she's suing them because she did not sign an NDA, supposedly. I don't know, but it was like a legal analyst did like a whole thing about it. So, and she probably has a story to tell. And once she wins that legal battle, if it does come out that it was a false NDA, not only could she sue him for that, she now has the opportunity to tell whatever horror story she went through while she was there.
Which brings me to the fact that, listen, I mean, how much of what you see on the air with Howard is really Howard in real life? Now, knowing Howard, you would see him
it is nothing
at times.
compared to what that guy is in real life. In real life, he was always very kind to me.
Okay.
And I never, to his credit, as much as I don't want to give it to him, to his credit, he never was mean to a fan. If a fan wanted an autograph, he gave him an autograph. I was with him every single day. I picked him up.
He's a germaphobe in real life, real germaphobe.
Yeah, not so much like a Howie Mandel, but he doesn't like, he doesn't want to touch people. He doesn't want to touch things. Yeah.
But now this girl is saying that, like in the house, you couldn't make direct eye contact with him or Beth. I mean, was this something like, let's say the cameras are off, you guys are just seeing him in the hallway. Are you allowed to say hello to him in the hallway? Are you allowed to look at him in the eyes?
When I was there, it was, as big as he was when it was at K-Rock, it was still a tiny little shitbox of a radio station.
Right.
And they really didn't reinvest into technology or anything until it was definitely, I would say after Private Parts, the movie, where we moved to West 40, 57th Street. So we had like we had our own studio, but Howard would have these big bands like Bush and all this stuff, and if they wanted to play, like literally the drummer had to be in the hallway. It was tiny, and plus he shared the studio with all the other DJs. So it wasn't until but it was, he would walk down the hallway and there would be people from the promotions department and the sales department and the traffic department. And he would always be nice. He would engage them and he knew them. But I don't know, after I left, he got a little more separated from, the everyday people that worked in the station. So I don't know what happened after I left, but I do know that, there was no contact with him at Sirius, and they made that very specific. So I'm sure that was his decision,
So, has there ever been a moment in your life where you're at the studio and it's just you and him for some reason in an awkward situation in a room, and you just happen to be there, and he happened to be there for whatever reason, and you just had to have a conversation with him? It had nothing to do with radio. And also and to back that question up, did you ever see him off base? Did you ever run into him somewhere unexpected?
Well, the last time I saw him was at America's Got Talent, and I had seen him in a long time, and I had grown out my beard. My beard was like down to here, and I saw him in between the late great Don Buchwald, who was always very good to me. He's
a good guy, Don.
He was like, he brought me up there. He goes, "Why don't you go say hello?" I was like, "Dude, they're taping." He goes, "No, come on, commercial break, let's go." And Howard was so nice, and he goes, "Look at you, you're all grown up." And it was a nice moment. But I had moments every day with Howard. I had, we talked in the elevator up and down, and he's one of the few people that was working there that he confided. When I say confided, in his trust, he trusted.
Yeah, what do you mean confide? He trusted you to a certain level, I'm sure.
Yeah, that nobody else. I had exclusive access to Howard, and that's kind of where, oddly enough, how Scores got put on the map, because my really good friend Lonnie the Man Hanover, who was a publicist. He was the original publicist for Scores, and he had me at Scores like every night.
Yeah.
And I would show up still half in the bag picking up Howard, and he goes, "Were you out last night?" And I would be like, "Oh, yeah, I was at the best place in the entire world. They got Ford models. They're naked, Howard. It's insane." So then I started bringing everybody from the radio station to Scores, and Lonnie would take care of anybody. I don't know if you ever met Lonnie, but he's just an amazing human being.
Yeah, I met him one time.
Yeah, and so he was my friend before Scores. Like he used to be the publicist for Club Expo.
Oh, okay.
And he left Club Expo to go to Scores, and I just happened to live 5 blocks from Scores. So he had me hanging out with him every night. I was eating filet mignon like 3 times a week.
Yeah, they had great food there. I remember that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They had a 5-star Michelin rated chef.
Yeah, 100%.
And they, so I started telling Howard about it. Then I got Gary and the awful human being to come down there. And then the word spread. And then finally Howard got to go down there for Fred Norris's bachelor party, which Howard would not stop talking about Scores. And after that, Scores was packed every single night.
Yeah. And then, so was it always a major production when Howard would go? Of course, it was calculated. I'm sure it wasn't just, the press knew about it.
Howard, they opened up at 11 o'clock in the morning for Howard. They bent over back, and this is the brilliance of Lonnie. He knew they would make that money back if they gave Howard exclusive access to Scores. So we would get out of the show, go into the limo. There would be 6 of us or 7 of us, the first original crew that was there.
Sure.
They were open by 11 just for us. We walked in. Lonnie gave Gary $20,000 in funny money. And they had lobster, filet mignon, everything set up. And there was 6 or 7 of us, and there was about 25 girls.
Wow. Just basically anything you wanted.
Yeah, dude, the stories at the Scores parties were legendary.
Give me a typical story that people will listen. We got a lot of people in the room, actually.
Oh, good, because I think hopefully I brought a bunch over, too. Get a bunch of new ones.
There's a nice amount out there, yeah.
So, the first one, there was... You walked in and there was the dining room and then the open bar and all the food was laid out. And then there was a back room where there was sort of a loungy area where you can get lap dances. And then there was there's steps up to a really, really dark room where everybody got lap dances. I'm not saying anything sexual went on, but I'm sure some things did. It was too dark to say.
You're not saying things sexually didn't go on. You're saying it could have been either way. Yeah.
Yes.
Was Howard always the utmost respect? He made sure he didn't cross the line, or?
Yeah, but listen, he was Howard Stern. But when I was going there, he was still in the beginning. He was still married.
I was
So
going to say he was married to his original wife. What was her name?
yes,
I forgot her name.
and
Beth.
Allison.
No, not Beth. Allison. Right.
Allison. So, but he was still in the throes of I'm a loyal husband. I would never
Right.
cheat on my wife. So if something did go down, I did not see it. But he used to wear like his specials. He called them scores pants. They were like loose fitting sweatpants that he would wear to scores. So
Oh, okay.
I
reasons
don't
we
know.
all know.
I don't want to know, and I didn't know what was going on with his scores pants. But as far as I know, for all intents and purposes, he never cheated on Allison.
How did Allison handle all of that, though, in real life, not just on the radio? Because he was always putting things on the radio.
Yeah,
How
well,
did you really know?
I can't answer that because I don't know what. Obviously, it took its toll because they got divorced.
Yeah, but I mean, they could have got divorced for reasons other reasons, not because he
Yeah,
got the
well,
scores, But he did, he did do a lot of crazy things on the air. It's hard for a woman to put up with the things he did. He was kind of looking out for himself there because, I mean, if you think about it, he put his family second in a sense for ratings and fame, and
Yeah,
not
well,
thinking
it's-
about he had two girls and a wife, and not a good reputation for them. To walk
His
around.
family was well compensated.
Yeah, but well compensated is one thing, but doing the right thing is another. I think maybe he exploited a little too much. He could have went down other roads, I think. But hey, we used to laugh at it, but I mean, I'm sure it took a toll.
Well, yeah, I got shit. I remember I was dating this girl, and every year he would do a Super Bowl party inside the studio. This is before scores, but he had like Penthouse Pets coming in and giving massages in the studio. And it was like the Friday before Super Bowl, and Howard. It was like a big event, and you'd have like guests come in. At some point, but he had like girls like Amy Lynn Baxter and Sandy Taylor coming, and they would be topless giving massages. So one day he invites, like I was like there. He goes, "Oh, Grillo, come on in here and get a massage from Amy Lynn," And I'm like,
Right.
21 years old maybe. So there I am getting a massage, and I was ripped at that point. I ripped my shirt off. I had a six pack. I was like, "Yo, what's up?" And I'm getting a massage, and then I was like, "Oh, I can't believe that was so much. That was so cool." And I got off the air, and I'm like, "Howard Stern show," and it was my girlfriend. You did what?
That's what
I
I'm
was like,
saying, it's like you got to be able to know where to push the envelope and kind of hold back,
yeah. And then after the very first scores party, that's when we broke up because I told her I'd be home by 3:00, and then. I was no way in hell I was going home at 3:00.
Right.
And
You didn't quite
then
make
she,
it.
yeah, and then she goes, "You're not getting a lap dance, are you?" I go, "Yeah. What do you think I'm doing here?"
Well, you
and
are.
we broke up after that.
How many? So let me give me the roll call on the Stern Show when you were on. Who was working there? I know you have, of course, Howard Robbins. and Jack.
Yeah, I started out. It was Jackie the Joke Man, Fred Norris, Robin Quivers, Gary Delabate, the awful human being, Mike Ganji, and Billy West.
Juan Melendez.
Juan
I think
Menendez.
Billy West was probably one of the most talented. Juan Menendez. Hernandez or Menendez? What is his real? what is his
Hernandez.
real
I
name?
like Hernandez. I like
Juan
Hernandez
Hernandez,
better.
the Stuttering Juan.
Yeah.
So I think Fred and I think Fred was and West were the two I think most talented of everyone on the show.
He's like
when it
Rain
came to-
Man. He was like Rain Man because he had a million. Back then, there was carts that looked like 8 tracks and all the sound effects. And he had a wall over here and a wall over here and a giant cart wheeled thing that I had to bring in every day. And Fred would be like, he didn't have to look. He knew exactly where every sound effect was. And he was
just
like a
knew.
machine. Yeah. And it was like this. And
AI
now
couldn't replace him. Even AI couldn't replace Fred.
nobody can replace Fred Norris. He's one of the nicest people ever. And a little known fact, he's an extremely talented musician. I'm talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan
Yes,
good
I
on the
heard some
guitar.
stuff. But is he really? I mean, I know he's loyal to Howard. I know Robin's loyal to Howard. But sometimes I kind of over the years had seen a fantastic dynamic between the three of them, and then I kind of see that the dynamic changed, and now they're just there because they're doing the show, and they're not as close as they used to be. Do you get that?
Yeah, 100%.
You get?
You know,
I kind of feel like there's animosity there.
I don't know if there's animosity between Gary and everybody that's there. I don't know. So everybody there is on pins and needles because at any second Howard could rip the rug out underneath them and they could take all their livelihoods away.
Yeah, but hopefully
If
save
Robin,
money.
Fred, and Jack, Fred and Robin and Gary, they're set for life. They don't have to worry. But I worry about like Sal and Richard and Benji. I hope they have enough to go past what they're doing right now, either get another job or survive. Because once Howard's gone, there goes the gravy train.
But they got to be making heavy bank right now. I mean, they've hopefully put some away. I mean, Sal and Gavrinelli and all Richard, all these guys got to be making money. They do personal appearances.
Yeah, I hope to God. I think he squashed the personal appearance thing because I haven't heard anybody do a personal appearance in a long time. But I would hope at this point, they're 20. I think Sal and Rich have been there 20 years at this point, which
That's a
God
long
makes me
time.
feel old. But
They got to have something invested in. They have to have money. They have to have some kind of pension.
it's not network TV money. You've gotten
No.
network TV money before.
Oh, yeah.
It's not. It's probably it's a 6-figure salary, probably in the middle to low end of that, and they're able to survive. But they're notorious for giving you just enough to live.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I hear. They're not really. They don't pay handsomely. I'm sure, like Fred and Robin excluded. I heard Jackie did very well.
Yeah.
And I heard they all did great. Except you had that the crew, the guys that you would fall under. That if you were there to this day, you would be with Sal and all those guys. Where do you think you would be today if you were still with the show? Let's say you didn't get. And first of all, where do you think you would be today if you were still with the show? What would you be doing? You think?
Oh, well, I guess I would probably be more of sort of like Jason Kaplan, because Jason, I was there. I would have been there long enough than Jason Kaplan, so I probably would have had like a Jason Kaplan role. I picture myself. I think I might have been a little more of a contributing writer because I did write stuff for the show.
Right.
Okay, I did
And
contribute.
I heard that years ago.
Yeah, no, but was it? I couldn't even be I couldn't even be considered a producer, which was what I was doing. But we contributed on so many different levels because, at the beginning I did, but I used to write shit and I was terrified to submit it because if it was bad or if it was, I wasn't looking for any more attention on the air to be goofed on.
Right.
So I found my old college notebooks when I was still going there, and I was finding skits that I was writing that I never submitted because I was scared that I was going to get made fun of. Then towards the end,
that would be a good book. The skits that never made it to the Stern.
yeah. So I used to love writing skits, and then I wrote a skit with this other intern for the pay-per-view special that he did on New Year's Eve. Check this out. This is how messed up this is. So this intern came in and he was kind of funny. He was like this skinny, scrawny looking guy. And I became friends with him. And I sat there and we wrote like 2 skits. And one of them, was based on one of the guests that he had, Daniel Carver, who was the head of the KKK. It was something like that.
Wake up white people. Remember him?
Yeah, and we wrote a skit that had to do with the cement black people he used to have on his lawn. Like the lawn jockeys.
Yeah.
And so we wrote this skit, and the kid gets there and he submits the skit, and they loved it. And he gets hired as a writer on the pay-per-view special, and I'm sitting, he threw me under the bus. It was my idea. We both wrote the skit. He submits it without my name on it. They think he's the most brilliant kid in the world. He gets hired as a writer for the pay-per-view.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there going, I wrote it too. And they're like, oh, Grillo, you're just trying to grift. And there was and the kid put his head down and didn't even say anything.
I can see that happening. I can picture it. But what about the day in the life of? Okay, now you're not with the show. So how did that happen? Why did you leave the show? Did you get fired from the show? What happened?
No, I didn't get fired, but I left because if I would have stayed, I would have got fired because I would have been a miserable bastard. But I would get there and I would sit there and I would get the newspapers. I was also Robin's news intern. So okay. I had the newspapers there. I had to make sure that Robin had newspapers, Howard had newspapers, I had newspapers. And I would get there early and I would start, gathering news articles for Robin. Then I get the phone call for Howard. I bring Howard up. Then I had to go down to get Howard's breakfast. And he didn't want the guys in the deli to know that it was for him, but they did. I had to go down and make friends with these guys. So this is another good quality about me because I can make friends anywhere. But these guys, it's 5:30 in the morning, and this was on 58th between Madison and Park, and they had to start prepping because the breakfast from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock, it was gigantic. So they had to start prepping the bacon and the home fries. You know how it goes.
Lots
So
going
now
on.
I'd have to go down there, and I made friends with the cook, and he would literally remove all the bacon and all the home fries off the skillet, clean it down because Howard didn't want any grease, and he would make like an egg white and tomato wrap, and it would ruin his flat top because there would be burnt egg on there. But he made sure that wrap was just pristine egg white and tomato.
How many days a week did that go on? Every day?
Five
days.
every day.
Every
So once I got his breakfast, that's when everybody started filing in. I had to get the studio prepped. I had to put the headphones in. I had to bring Fred's cart rack in. I had to make sure all Howard's stuff was in there. I had to bring his chair in there, his headphones, Robin's headphones, Jackie's, Gary's, Fred's headphones, and I had to prep the studio, and then I had to start doing articles and answering phones. And then I was in charge of the guests. So when the guests came in,
day. It wasn't just you're there. You're working.
dude, there was so many plates spinning, bro. And I was a kid, and I handled all this. And that's what I did was a producer's role, no doubt. But I would never get out of that intern status, and I didn't give a fuck. But I did it because I loved doing it, and I knew how lucky I was to be there. It was probably part of my downfall because my worth was nothing. And they always had that. There's other people outside with resumes waiting for that job, bro.
And you did it for free for a while.
6 years, not for a while.
So you did it for free for 6 years.
Yeah.
How did you support yourself during those 6 years? And what did you do?
I'm from Brooklyn, bro. I got my hustle on.
You had to be able to live a little bit.
Yeah, I did appearances and I got jobs at nightclubs. That's how I got to smoke blunts with Tupac. Everything, all these stories are in my book. If anybody, it's on Audible and Amazon. But these stories that's the reason why I wrote the book is because these stories I've told a million times to my friends, and they're all like, write a book, write a book, write a book. You got to write a book. So that's why I wrote a book, because I detail all this in my book. And I worked in nightclubs.
The name of the book is what? Gorilla Parts?
Gorilla Parts. It's right over there. And if you
And
want to listen
you
to
can get it on Amazon. You can also listen
Amazon
to it on Audible.
and Audible.
And
You can
Kindle
listen
as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So
You get
if you
all
want
of
to, but if I worked in nightclubs on the weekends and I did appearances during, on a Thursday, Friday, I got in, I was in an off-Broadway play for 2 years.
Okay.
So I had to subsidize my time outside the show to live, and I always did. I always get what I want. I'm kind of like that. If I want something, I'll put my head down and I'll make sure I get it.
So you were making pretty good money then, even though you were working for free. You were still making good money in personal appearances, I'm assuming. And space.
Yeah, I made more, like the nightclub. I made more money doing Grandma Sylvia's funeral, the off-Broadway play. And then when I left the show, I was killing it in the nightclub business. I was making $600, $700, $800 a night. And then I was also, Anthony Jr. stand-in on The Sopranos, and I was getting other acting gigs. So I was doing well. I was probably making more money when I wasn't on the show, because it was going good. And I hate to always, I'm not blaming anything, and I've said this before. The gravy train ended when the planes hit the towers, and that's when it all stopped. And I had to change. I changed my lifestyle, and I had to make a decision, and I did. And it just was the wrong time to make that. But there was nothing going on in the city. The money that I had saved up went like a fart in the wind.
Go on. Do you think that Jackie the Joke Man, and I love Jackie, but do you think that Jackie kind of cut his nose to spite it, by not doing negotiating right? Do you think he kind of thinks he did too, or he's happy where he's at? I just don't believe it.
He's very happy where he's at. He has an
I know
awesome.
he's happy where he's at, but he would have been a lot happier, money-wise, financially, if he would have stayed with the show. I think.
I can't answer that because he has a documentary called The Joke Man that is absolutely compelling. It's a really. I'm pretty sure you can watch that on paper. One of the channels has it, his documentary, and I think him leaving the show kind of saved his life. Because he stopped drinking and he got his shit together. He's doing just fine. He has a house in Bayville, literally on the beach, literally on the beach.
Yeah, no, I know he does great. I know he does great, but I kind of always felt like maybe he, because you know why? They have a way of humiliating him still to this day when they bring him up. It's like they just can't let it go, and they always got to somehow humiliate Jackie. It's like They always do that. I mean, I haven't heard the
He-
show in a while, but I remember they used to.
Yeah, he knew where Howard was going before Howard did. And I used to see, when you went in the studio, you were sitting kind of like catty corner to Jackie. And I would see him write down a joke and put it to the side. And he would wait, and then he'd throw it over the top, and then Howard would read it. He was writing jokes before Howard even got there. He was so
He was ahead of
brilliant and
himself.
so
He's a
good at,
brilliant guy. Brilliant joke teller, great comedian, and nice guy. He's one of the nicest people. People don't realize how nice Jackie is.
No, and
I've always felt
generous.
bad for him.
That's what was always messed up, because they would make him look like he was some cheap bastard. Yet every year, 4th of July, he invited every single person from the radio station. It was like he opened up his house to everybody.
Right.
And he had everybody would be on the beach, and then you come back, and he had lobsters and steaks and hamburgers, hot dogs, steamers, 18 coolers full of booze. Howard never did any shit like that.
I heard Howard was very cheap, from what I hear.
Yeah, Howard never did anything for anybody but himself.
I remember going in the Howard Stern studio when I was on the show with Andrew with Dice, and George Carlin was on the show, and that was in K-Rock. I never was in the Sirius studio for his show, but I did K-Rock 3 times with him. Not me being on the show, but being with Andrew on the show, and he was always very nice to me. But I just heard he was a very cheap guy, and then I hear, like, as he got older, and now I hear he's just a different kind of person. Like, you think, you can't look at him, you can't touch him, you can't talk about him. They live a weird life. He had 50 cats all over the house. I mean, I don't know.
His germ phobia really got the best of him during COVID, apparently.
Have you ever been to his house or apartment in New York?
I was at his house in Long Island, because when the books came out, he gave me a $6 an hour job, running dubbing tapes for the guy who actually wrote the book is Larry Ratso Sloman. And
Right.
I would have to dub certain points to send to Ratso, and Ratso would go and listen to the tapes, and then he would write what he wrote. So I went to his house. It was very, very nice house. It was very big. He had a tennis court and a pool, and I never got the full tour of the house. It was like, hi, there you go, we're in the basement. There was like an office in the basement, so I never really saw where he slept or anything. But I had been in the house a bunch of times.
So I got the email. I want to go back. Now I want to go to the email from
Yeah,
Stuttering
get to the
Juan.
nitty gritty. So yesterday,
So I
you
get an
said,
email from,
yeah.
I get it. Well, we talked about what I said. So I got an email this morning, but I want to go through. I'm gonna read the email to you, but then I want to read the response that I had gotten after that. I'll show you what happened. So the email read, "Hey dummy, Steve was never a writer on the Stern Show. He also does not have a highly rated podcast like you. He is a delusional nobody." Okay, so that was the email. But now let me go into my emails here before we get into that.
Hey, dummy. Imagine that's how you start off an email to someone like you, who's been so successful in the business that he can't even get a decent
But
set.
I'm starting to think. So I just got an email now, so I'm starting to think that it's not him, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. So I'm going to go to my sent mail because I sent him an email, and I said to him, "Sounds more like you are delusional, no talent, going nowhere loser. I will not resort to calling you names. You're an angry, bitter, small person, John. Please refrain from emailing me again. You are not a comedian and never were."
The Dabbleverse is going to eat that for breakfast, bro.
So that's what I emailed him. Then he emails me back. He goes, "I never emailed you, so please fuck off."
Oh, okay.
So
And
I'm
how does
thinking,
it?
all right, so then I get the email just now. That's why I'm thinking it's maybe one of your fans.
Okay.
It could be somebody in the Dabbleverse. So then I get an email now going, get to bashing me, dumb fuck."
Oh yeah, this is what he does.
So
I
I'm
know that sounds exactly like him,
But
because
he's not emailing me directly to my email. He's emailing through my website, theparisegroup.com, where you can contact me for my business. And he's emailing me through that, so it's coming in on a contact form. He's not emailing me at my email address. So I'm thinking, is it or is it not? Either way, it doesn't matter. I never fucking liked him anyway, and I don't give two fucks, whatever. But it's kind of seeming to me, was it him or was? What do you think?
I think that it sounds like him because his knee-jerk reaction to people is calling them stupid and dumb. because he thinks he thinks he's a genius. And I will say there is some intelligence. At some point, he's smart, but he always bragged about how smart he was and how everybody else was stupid. So the fact that he's coming at you with dummy and you dumb fuck, that sounds exactly like who he is.
Okay, because what makes me think of it is because he's telling me now, why am I not bashing him? So does he want me to? I mean, I'm not going to bash him.
Yeah,
I'm done with him now at this point.
Good, thank you. I don't want to give it. I don't want to feed the dragon, But
yeah, I'm done. But I'm saying, so is he looking for that? I mean, it can't be good publicity, or it can't be good for me to, why would he want somebody to bash him?
Because he's
looking for a
waiting.
lawsuit? He can't sue me. I mean, facts are facts.
He's gathering all this shit so he can take it out on me at some point.
Okay, I got you. So maybe it was him, people. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe you want to comment on the below on the YouTube comment. Let me know what you think, because I'm trying to figure it out. And that's the way it goes with Stuttering Juan. That's what happened.
Yeah,
muttering. Moving on, Steve. We're away from that.
Thank you.
You're living in Vegas now.
Yes, sir.
You're doing really great out there. You have a show, Aftershock XL. You got a great following. What's going on with you now? What happened from the Stern Show to now? What did you do from there on in? I mean, did you work? Where did you go?
After 9/11, I joined the local 3 electrical union, and it was just really everybody said, Steve, you lost so much. And, you see what happens when there's a tragedy. Nobody needs a bartender or an actor, but they'll always need an electrician. And I was a lot of people got that in my head, and I had an opportunity to, no one got me in the union, but I was like, here's the application. This is what you need to do. And I followed the steps and I got in the union, but I went from making, $700-800 a night to making $350 a week with the promise of, you're going to get your card, but the card takes 6.5 years to get. And I probably got about to the 4th year in there, because it drained everything.
So you got in the electrician union.
God bless Local 3, because they're amazing and they're the best in the country.
How long? And
about almost 4 years.
Okay,
but you don't make much as an apprentice, And I had another 2.5 years to go before I even got anywhere close to making top scale, and I was just a miserable bastard doing that.
And so what did you do after that? Where did you go from there? Bounced around.
I bounced around. I started doing shit. I started doing odd jobs, and I opened up a pizzeria with my very good friend Russ Brunelli, who I dedicated my book to, who I'm going to see in 15 minutes. Did you ever go to Restaurant Brunelli? It was on 75th in York.
No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah, it was a big deal for about 10 years, and some of the best Italian food I ever had in my entire life.
Wow.
No, because I haven't tried yours yet. But it was a very special place to me. And when the lease ended and they couldn't renew the lease, me and Russ opened up a pizzeria in Hell's Kitchen called Hell's Kitchen Pizza. And then I moved on to Artichoke Pizza when they just started to blow up. But I as much as I love to make pizza, I just hate the pizza business.
Right. I was in the pizza business for many, many years. Yeah.
So you know how grueling it is, I don't want to make.
I started in that business. That's right. Where I started.
Yeah. I don't want to make dough. I don't want to cut cheese. You know what I'm saying?
It sucks. Got to fucking roll that all the dough, and you move it around, put it to the side.
Yeah.
I hated it. I mean, I did love it. I mean, I did well with it. I'm not saying I hate it.
Yeah, but after
it's just
that,
my wrists to this day hurt. I feel like I got carpal tunnel syndrome.
Oh, I definitely, 100%. And then I left. I actually managed Dorian's Red Hand on the Upper East Side for about 1.5 years, which was a welcome. It's such a wonderful family. Everybody knows that's the Robert Chambers bar. Everybody says that.
Yeah.
Where the guy.
I remember that. It's that girl by the tree or something in the park.
Yeah, he strangled with her panties and then sat there and watched the police come. The guy was a psycho.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, the Dorian's family's name got dragged in it. But they were so wonderful, the Dorians. And then I just sort of bounced around. But then I started, a good friend of mine by the name of Joe D'Imperio had a studio in Times Square called Pro Media. And I started doing a podcast. I've been doing podcasts here and there at the very beginning of it, when it was just like, no one really understood that what a online radio station was. And I started doing that with my friend Joe Meathook. And we had a show, but it was just us making ourselves laugh for like 2 hours on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And then I started doing it when I had 24-hour access to one of my jobs. I started an LED lighting company called Bright Shot, which it was like a movie. You've been in front of those cameras, those lights, how hot they are and shit like that.
You sweat like you feel like a French fry into
Yeah.
a fucking lamp. Yeah,
I met the company when they were at the right out of research and development, where I was really in a bad place. You know, I had broken up with my wife. I needed a roommate, and my life was just like in a shambles. And I was invited to the great Irene and Roy McDonald's. They had the production plant, which is a post-production house, and their side gig was that they had this new light. And I was like, and I met Roy for the first time, and he goes, "Oh, you want to check out my new invention?" I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And he goes, "Check it out. It's an LED light for TV and film. It goes any color temperature. It's got special effects, and look, no heat." And being on stage, you know how much those lights are distracting. And I stuck my hand in front of the light, and I went, and I looked at him. I said, "You're going to hire me." And he said, "Well, what? We're not hiring anybody." I said, "No, I'm going to get you on TV and film, and you're going to hire me." And he goes, "Oh," I said, and so 2 days later, I called him up. I said, "Get your light and meet me at the Ed Sullivan Theater. I got you a demo with the lighting director for the David Letterman show." And he was like, "What?" I said, "I told you I'm going to do this." So we went down. He did a lighting demo for the lighting director for David Letterman. And then 2 days later, I called him up. I said, "Meet me at Sirius Satellite Radio. I got you a demo with the Howard Stern show." And he goes, and then we were on the elevator going up. And I said, "By the way, this is your last freebie." So, and it was, because they hired me as their promotions director. And that was 2012. And we were on every show from here to LA. And it was going so well for about 10 years until the company Arri, who was basically the monopoly of any type of lights in any rental situation in any TV or movie, Arri finally caught up to make a bastardized version of our light that was not as powerful, was not any good, but they basically boxed us out of their business because all the lighting guys, all the gaffers and stuff on all the shows, they have to order packages from Arri. Basically, they order this, that, and then they'd order us. And Arri told them, if you don't take our version of the Bright Shot light, your package deal is going to change.
Right.
So all the guys that were loyal to us for all those years had to go with, their bosses were like, "Well, we can't use Bright Shot anymore. Ari's not having it." So we got boxed out of the business.
Unbelievable. And then you ended up in Vegas.
Yeah. Well, I did a grip, and I found something that I really did truly enjoy. I started doing grip and stagehand work. Local 52 and Local 1 in New York. I loved it. But after that strike, you couldn't turn down a job from Local 52. Every studio was filled in New York. Every time a job ended, all you had to do is call the union hall and say, "I'm available." And 20 minutes later, you got a phone call and say, "Go down to go to the Silver Cup, go to Kaufman Astoria." And and the money is fantastic. I got out of debt. I was working I had a bank account. I bought a motorcycle.
Wow.
Things were great. And then after that strike, and still to this day, nobody's filming in New York like they were like 6-7 years ago.
Well, New York's totally changed, I think.
Yeah, and then I started doing stagehand work, which is basically the same as grip work, and I love doing that. But so many people are out of work from 52. They were also leaning on Local 1, so you had to go and fight for jobs with that. And I was making a living off of it, but it wasn't like I was getting. You would work 2 weeks, and then you had to hustle for another job, and then you work for another week and hustle for another job.
A lot going on in Georgia, Atlanta with that stuff. North Carolina.
Not anymore, dude. No, all those Marvel movies that were down there at the studios, they all moved to Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my friend was the dolly grip on all those Marvel movies. He's got pictures with the Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer. Like, he did all those movies, made a huge, and all those studios pulled out of Atlanta.
What about Lifetime Network and all those networks? Hallmark, I think they still do Atlanta, right?
Yeah, no one really knows this, but I'll give the exclusive on your show. I was a stage manager for Newsmax for like a month and a half.
I love Newsmax.
Yeah, so I was supposed to go I was trained as a cameraman. The cameraman is real easy. You frame out the head from this, and you roll.
Block it out.
Yeah, and then you just lock it and you just sit there. And something happened where one of the stage manager got demoted to camera guy. And all of a sudden they're like, "Could you do stage managing?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "Well, we're going to show you." and you're live on the air with Rob Finnerty and all these people. And the guy that got demoted made my life a living hell every single day.
Really?
He knew I didn't have an experience, and he would yell at me and call me out, and he made me a nervous wreck because in real life, you know what we do to that guy. You give him a fat lip.
Take him around the back in the alley.
Yeah, exactly. But I couldn't do that because Newsmax was paying really well, and I did it for about a month and a half. And then one morning, this guy, like I would say 7 minutes to live air, I got the studio set up, and I was all ready, and I did all this work, and he comes over and he kicks the pile of fucking wire that I coiled. It took me a half an hour to coil this long wire. And he kicks it over and goes, "What the fuck is that?" And I picked that spot out on his face where I was going to hit him. And it was like 5 minutes to air, and I literally walked over to my boss, I said, "I'm doing you a favor. Here's my ID card. If I stay here, there's going to be police and ambulance on a live show. So I'm leaving right now. Someone should better jump in my spot."
Wow.
And I walked out, and that guy, after the show, was carried out by security.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goes to show.
But do you want to come back? I was like, no, because they didn't really train me right for the job, and I wanted to be a camera guy, and they made me stage manager, and I didn't want to do stage managing. I actually cursed on the air.
Really?
Because in Newsmax, it's still sort of like, it's still minor league. So where they have the studio,
they're trying to go. I mean, I know they're legitimate. I mean, they have new, but they're not quite there yet. You still can't go up against Fox to me.
So it was live on the air, and there was a monitor because the ground was uneven. So you had to know where the peaks and valleys were. And I set this monitor up, the teleprompter, and all of a sudden I turn on and I see it's going like this, and I go, "Oh fuck." And I grab it, and Rob Finnerty goes, "Well, that's our stage manager, Steve, cursing on the air. Thanks, Steve."
Thanks, Steve. Do you still watch Newsmax at all?
I watch the clips.
Yeah.
I subscribe to their clips. I don't watch TV anymore. I don't tune into like Fox.
You can get everything.
It's so
on
much
Instagram
bullshit.
now. Everything you want just pops up on your feed. So what are you doing now in Vegas? I mean,
By the way, Grillovator is my handle on Instagram if anybody wants to follow me. And I'm Steve Grilla on X, and you can find me on TikTok. It's just my name. But right now...
Grillovator, which has got you right there. So just put an @ sign in front of your name there. Yep, Grillovator.
Grillovator is on Instagram. Not Darth Vader, Grillovator.
Grillovator.
Yes. So, but I was about to, I had moved out of my apartment in last June, almost a year ago, and I had a dispute with my landlord, and they had to pay me to leave. So I put some money aside to move back to New York, and I saved some. I kept some money, and I spent the whole entire summer at my place upstate in New York, which was wonderful. And I planned to come back to New York and start the whole grind again. I was lining up.
Do you want to go back to New York? You want to leave Vegas?
Right now, I don't know. No, I don't. I'm
going
back. I'm going back to my place. I have to go back to my place upstate on Monday, but I'm going to go obviously bounce around and see some friends and shit. But I love it so much. So I was about to, I was getting ready to line up an apartment to go back and start getting, stagehand work or grip work if it came. It hasn't come in so long. But anyway, I got a call from basically Richard's been my accountant for 10 years. He's very successful. F Sharp Tax Management was the first one they used to advertise on my old show, but it's a Professional Tax Alliance now. And Richard, if you got some big money coming in, he has a lot of big clients as far as that goes. But Richard said he was going to be starting a podcast network for financially. Would I be interested in coming out and help him start that? And I went, you know what? He goes, I'll fly you out here. I'll help you get a place. I'll help you get a car. I just want, I know you know all this shit. I want you to be,
okay.
I want you to help me with it. And that got postponed because tax season came up a little too quick. So he said, what I want you to do right now is go build up an audience on your show, and I'll continue to pay you. And what you need to do for me right now is make sure your channel's profitable. Because I could use that in what's going on. So if I turn to everybody and say, look, I already have a profitable show, profitable meaning it's monetized. I'm not making any money right now, but if I have enough content and enough followers and then I'm monetized, I'll keep you on, and then we're going to figure this out when the time comes. So that's why I'm out here in Vegas.
You're really delving into the podcast world now. You can possibly start producing his show and other shows.
Yes.
You got your show,
So-
Aftershock. Aftershock XL is a great show. Where can people find Aftershock XL? Other than
On YouTube. Right now, I'm just on YouTube. I'm soon to
Okay.
be on Rumble and everything. But Grillo's Aftershock XL. I definitely, subscribe. I'm not like I'm the Dabbleverse, but I'm doing my old show. I have like guests like you. I had Lana Turner, who was Ralphie May's widow. I had Vinny Pastore on. I had Billy West on. Jackie the Joke Man's going to do my show. We're waiting for something to get lined up. But I have people like DMC and stuff on my shows previously. All these people are going to come on, and I'm just waiting it out. But I do more of an interview show. A lot of these shows, they're so mean and nasty, and all they do is fight and bicker back and forth. I'm not saying I'm above that, because I appreciate everybody that comes around, and I do get a kick out of it at this point. But you saw the comments and all the shit that was
yeah.
going on my show. They're a hard audience, but I'll tell you one thing: they're a loyal audience, and they're there every day. Whatever they have to say about me, that's one thing. But
Well, I look at it like this. I had fun with them last night. They had fun with me. I had fun back, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
No,
you got to love your audience.
you gotta love your audience. I always say, know your audience, love your audience, engage with your audience. That's who keeps
Yep.
you here. They don't put you here; they keep you here.
100%.
You get there on your own because you didn't have an audience before you got there. Then when you finally get there and you develop an audience, they keep you there. And
Yeah,
that's why you always got to be. You got to love your audience.
I try to be a better person than awful people, because that's who I am anyway. I'm not an awful person. That's why people like you are my friend. That's why people like Lana Turner is a friend, or Vinny Pastore is my friend.
Yeah,
So
you're gonna get
and
more
then-
of them. You're gonna get more people on the show.
Yeah.
and,
Sh-
you had Jennifer
Sharippa-
Flowers on the show. I heard.
Yeah, she came on. She told a couple of good ones. She talked about that Bill Clinton did not wear a condom. That they were
Wow.
together for 12
Did she
years.
say that on the air? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, she got the detail, bro. He insisted that she would put makeup on him.
Really?
He liked to wear makeup. And the funny thing
I
is
can
that
believe
he was very into her blue nightgown, and he always wore his blue nightgown. And the moment I saw the painting in Epstein's island of Bill in a
the
dress,
makeup and the blue dress. Yeah.
yeah, I called Jennifer and I was like, "Are you seeing this?" She goes, "I told you, sweetheart, that he used to like squirting ketchup on her and shit like that and licking it off."
You can see he's
And
a fucking
and
idiot. Yeah, he's a
yeah,
idiot.
and that Hillary was a dyke.
I can believe that 100%.
And that what else? That she broke up with him and he cried. And I asked her, did his mascara run?
I think they had been separate for many, 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 many years.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just keep
100,
appearances up, you know.
yeah, because she's a looker, you know.
Oh yeah.
She
Looking
got
the
that
wrong way.
going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jennifer was very forthcoming. I've been friends with her for a while. She is just the most amazing, fun person, and she's kind of filthy. And she answered all the questions from the Dabbleverse. If she ever took it from Bill up the poop shoot, and a bunch of questions. Where did he like to, leave his finishings? And that she said, someone asked, did he have a big penis? She goes, Arkansas is a very small state. And she said that her phone was being tapped, and she just realized, she said she was on the phone with a friend, and you heard click, 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 click. She goes, "Oh, honey, we're being tapped right now. You want to see what happened?" She goes, "Bill Clinton has a small penis." She goes on the phone, like click, 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 click.
That is funny.
Yeah, so yeah, you go watch that.
I want to watch that show, and I want to also see the Vinny Pastore show. But you got a good thing going on, Steve. I wish you the best. I had a great time with you today hanging out. I want to definitely get people to see the book. You have the book in front of you. You can put it up to the
Yeah, right here. I got it all right here, buddy. Gorilla Parts.
Gorilla Parts. You can get Gorilla
So,
Parts on
again-
Amazon, and it's also on Audible, and you can get it in paperback and Kindle version.
Yeah, and there's a hardcover too you can get.
Oh, there's a hardcover too. You got Grillo's Aftershock XL. Grillo's Aftershock XL. Great show. I enjoy doing it. You're doing some great things, my brother. We got to get to know a little bit about you today, a little behind the scenes that I don't think you've talked about before, which was nice to hear. And I'm gonna we'll definitely do this again for sure. I want to have you back. There's some guests I've had that I have brought back. The show is doing great. So I'm happy about that, and I bring back guests because they killed it. You would be one of them.
Thank you. Well, Wheels, if you're ever short, if someone ever, cancels or anything like that,
Yeah.
I'd be more than glad to fill in. And if I have someone on my show that you'd be interested in interviewing, let me know, and I'll try to arrange that for you.
For sure. And nigga, people can follow you at Grillo Vader on Instagram, and then on X, you're what? Steve Gorilla?
Steve Gorilla.
Steve Gorilla.
Just like gorilla parts, like gorilla. Steve
Okay,
Gorilla.
so Steve Gorilla on X and at Grillo Vader on Instagram.
Yes.
Facebook, we really don't talk about too much. That's kind of personal.
No, but I'm on TikTok as well. I think it's just Steve Gorilla. If you type in Steve Gorilla, you'll find me.
All right,
It might be Steve Gorilla as well on TikTok too.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today, and have a good night, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wheels. I love you to death.
Love you too, man. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Yep.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. That was How Not to Bomb with Steve Grillo. Don't forget to get his book. Check him out on his own podcast. And we're going to play out Topos at the Wawa. This song is I Need to Breathe. It's called Never Need to Breathe by Topos at the Wawa. Not I Need to Breathe. I do need to breathe. This song is called Never Need to Breathe by Daniel LeBlanc at Topos at the Wawa. This show was a great show tonight. I hope you tell your friends about what's going on with us. You can also follow me on Instagram at Wheels Live. And I'm also on TikTok at Wheels Live and on Facebook. And you can get my book, How Not to Bomb, on Amazon Kindle and also on paperback. And I appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you.